Hello. Doug Ford calls for more mask usage. Students in Muskoka will be having a very different kind of grad. And Gravenhurst gears up for its annual farmers market. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News for May the 20th. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. Masks could become part of the norm as the economy reopens. At his daily briefing, Premier Doug Ford echoed Dr. Theresa Tam's comments earlier in the day that masks are now recommended if you can't physically distance.
And if you're going out for necessities, or if you're taking public transit and you can't keep 2 meters apart, we recommend that you wear a non-medical mask or a face covering. As the Chief Medical Officer has said, anything that covers your nose and mouth can help protect you and people around you.
This as the province announced 390 new cases despite stage 1 of recovery underway. The number of new daily provincial cases remains in the high 300s and even into the 400s.
Well, we have no certain date for stage 2 right now, Cynthia. We're relying on, again, the Chief Medical Officer and the health team to tell us when they feel we could open up stage 2, and we're going to monitor it. And yes, we're going to watch it like a hawk, and we're relying on the advice from our health table. To give you an exact number, I can't give you an exact number, but if cases are going up, it'll be concerning to say the least, and I won't hesitate. I won't hesitate to roll things back again.
Opening things up too early was a concern of Dr. Mark Cameron. We spoke with the immunologist who worked the front lines of research with SARS. He says Toronto immediately experienced a second wave of SARS when restrictions were lifted too early.
17 years ago, we were just about to relieve some of those measures. And Ontario was just about to relieve its state of emergency. And once that happened, I believe it was May 17th, 2003, Toronto experienced a second wave based largely out of hospitals and long-term care facilities. And I remember that being a crushing blow to Toronto. We had just got to the other side of the initial epidemic, and then we had to go through a second wave. And the second wave lasted just as long as the first.
And joining me now is MPP Norm Miller. Norm, thank you very much for taking the time.
My pleasure, James. One of these days, we're going to meet in person.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it, and we can sit across from each other again. Now, having said that, and talking about being in proximity with people, we just heard from the Premier that he was agreeing with Dr. Theresa Tam's suggestion that people should be wearing masks when they're out in the community right now, even though we are seeing, I guess, a plateauing of numbers, and we're seeing the recession, the re-adding of the economy, opening the economy again. Still the suggestion there that we should be wearing masks. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think the recommendation is that in places where you can't maintain physical distancing, particularly, if you're in Toronto riding public transit, for example, it's recommended that you wear a mask, not a medical grade mask, but one that you, as we've done, make yourself. And that helps protect other people that are in close proximity to you. So that is the recommendation. It's coming from the Chief Medical Officer of Health that where you can't maintain physical distancing, which might be in a store, it certainly would be on public transit, that you wear a mask, but as I say, not a medical grade mask. Those are needed for doctors, nurses, people in direct care of people that actually have COVID-19.
So as you mentioned, being in a store or being on some of the transit that's available in Bracebridge or Huntsville, the buses there, if people are using public transit at this point. Probably even if you're taking a taxi as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I believe even in the city, companies like Uber require you to have a mask on if you're using one of those services.
So let's talk about the reopening of the economy. So we are now officially in stage one, and a lot of businesses are starting to reopen. They are, I think some are trying to catch up with the necessities of opening at this point. But we're also seeing marinas and golf courses open as well. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on, how this process is going, and obviously you're very pleased to see this happening.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I've been getting a lot of phone calls all along through the last 9 weeks with concerns a lot from businesses that want to open. I mean, the good news is I think we're at stage one of 3 stages in the reopening part of phase of this. And on the weekend, just in time for Victoria Day weekends, and that was actually prior to stage one, the golf courses were able to open, seasonal campgrounds where you have a contract, and as well marinas were able to fully open. So I'm pleased to see that. I've certainly been hearing from a lot of the businesses that they wanted to open, and I think in the case of something like a golf course, they can quite safely open and maintain protocols to maintain physical distancing and sterilize. And a lot of people that have been cooped up for 9 weeks, I think they're pretty keen to get out and get a little exercise and some fresh air and get out of the house. So I'm for lots of reasons, I'm quite happy that we're at stage one. But that's been possible because all the people of Ontario have been doing the right thing and bending the curve in terms of the health outcomes.
Now, one of the opposite sides of this board is that schools are going to remain closed, which was mentioned by Doug Ford yesterday, that he felt that was in the best safety of the children moving forward. So tell me your thoughts on that, Norm, and I guess we are hopeful to see a bit of normalcy in September, but obviously it's going to still be a bit different.
Yeah, and I certainly feel for those families, not at that stage of life ourselves. We have 4 kids, but they're all grown, and one is living with us now because both of his jobs, after a 2-week quarantine, his jobs that had dried up, he's been home for a while, but I know it must be challenging for families, particularly when some of the moms and dads start going back to work. But it was a decision I think the Premier just wasn't willing to take the risk and concern with community spread that might happen if the schools open. And realistically, they would have opened for maximum about 3 weeks, I think. So the decision has been made not to open the schools, although there are quite a few supports, including for those that want the optional summer school. They're, I think, doubling the number of positions available up to 285,000. And in the remaining part of the school year, looking for more teacher-led classes and more synchronous classes, and taking a lot of the recommendations that came out of some of the online suggestions to have a better experience for the remaining part of the school year. But hopefully by September, we're back to the new normal so that kids can all be in school.
All right. Norm, thank you very much for taking the time today.
You're welcome. Take care.
Right. We are going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back after this. And joining me now from the Trillium Lakelands District School Board is Catherine SHEDDEN. Catherine, thanks very much for taking the time today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to come online and share some information with you.
So the information we want to talk about today is the possible postponement of some of these, major ceremonies that the kids are looking forward to every year, which is prom and graduation. Now, recently, the education minister had suggested that school boards could look at postponing these events until either the summer or the fall. So we're just curious right now where TLDSB stands on these ceremonies. I know there's quite a few because you have quite a few schools under your banner.
We do, and we're not just the Muskoka area. We are also Haliburton and the city of Kawartha Lakes. And prior to the minister announcing that graduations would need to be postponed, we had already been conversing with our administrators from our schools to discuss this. And so we've done this in a variety of steps. First of all, we asked that our administrators would speak with their school communities, so their staff and the students who are graduating, to see how they could be honored and celebrated and what their preference would be. And then we asked our school to collaborate with each other to make sure that there was sort of an even playing field in terms of what types of celebrations were being suggested. And the principals gave us all of this information, and our senior administration are now taking a look because our next step is to make sure that anything that's being suggested is equitable, that all students have an option to participate, which can be a bit tricky in this time when schools are closed and we're supposed to be distancing from each other. And also to make sure that our privacy protocols are in place. Lots of people want to put things online. We need to make sure that there are permissions for student photos and student names, etc., to be shared on social media channels, etc. So I can tell you that what we know right now, most of our secondary schools in the Muskoka area are hoping for a delay in the graduation to the fall. We, of course, don't know what the fall is going to look like in terms of allowing people to gather, but they're going to wait and see. But in the meantime, they're looking at different ways to honor graduates in the spring by things like acknowledgement in local newspapers, perhaps some signs on the school signposts, etc.
Now, just wanted to quickly touch down on the prom topic as well. It was interesting to me that was brought up as a postponement as well, because I know a lot of these kids are going to be gone. There's really not an opportunity to celebrate prom. Is that something that the board is looking at postponing as well, or is prom pretty much kind of a write-off at this point?
We haven't really been discussing at a central level much about proms. We've left that up to schools, but I think that you can pretty much count on the fact that proms are canceled for this year.
Okay. And I just quickly want to touch down, Catherine, on how things have been going with the education right now. There's been a lot of discussion about the online education, teachers working and getting students kept up to date, and obviously schools are not going to be opening for the rest of the school year. So what is the feedback you guys have been getting from teachers and parents and students on the online education so far?
Well, we just recently had a parent survey and asking for feedback, and generally our parents are very satisfied with what's been going on, with the opportunity for students to engage with their classroom teachers, and we've done a lot of work in making sure that students have devices if they have internet access, and for those who don't, we now have a paper delivery system where once a week paper materials are being delivered. We're now up to over 400 households where those paper deliveries are going to. So we're making sure that all those students who can't be connected for one reason or another do have an opportunity to learn.
And Catherine, just the last question about what we have to look forward to. And I know the Minister of Education again is talking about plans coming from the ministry about what the fall term could look like. However, I'm sure the school board is already putting plans in place in terms of what your schools are going to look like And I'm wondering if we're going to see a bit of a similarity to what was happening in Quebec in terms of the separation of desks, not allowing students to really congregate in the halls, that type of thing. Are those discussions that are happening right now?
Certainly, we are definitely meeting right now. We have a committee of administrators and senior administrators who are working on what it could look like. Of course, we will have to wait to see what the Ministry of Education tells us they will want it to look like. But we are going ahead and doing some proposed planning based on a variety of scenarios.
Okay. All right. Well, Catherine, again, I do appreciate you taking the time today to chat with us. We'll look forward to seeing what happens with these students' graduation and hopefully a bit more normalcy next semester. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. We are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Well, many of us are waiting to get our hands on some farm fresh goods, and Gravenhurst Farmers Market may be able to offer that, but it's opening a little differently this year.
It was only a couple months ago that the farmers market approached the town to inquire if they can proceed or not with their market this year. And at that time, restrictions were tight at the provincial level, and we were fearful that it wouldn't happen in our community this year. But with the province lifting restrictions and allowing farmers markets to operate in the same fashion as a grocery store, we invited the market to give us a plan on how they were to implement the COVID-19 parameters, and we've run that plan by the health unit, and they've given us the green light. So very hopeful and very happy that the market, despite everything else this year, has been closed down in our community, which is sad news for us. The market will be open, but they will be open only to sell local food, and it will be quite the different experience than what you're used to. Some examples this year: there'll be controlled access to the market. There'll be sanitization stations put out throughout. There'll be separation between the vendor and the purchaser. There'll be no giveaways this year. So the market right now is scheduled to open June 3rd. Prior to June 3rd opening, we will be touching base again with the market to make sure that everything's still applicable to what they're doing in accordance with the health unit. The market itself is located in Gravenhurst at the sports field. Parking will be permitted at the parking lot, but you can expect that you will have to queue up similar as you would into a grocery store like you're experiencing now.
Well, personally, I can't wait to get my hands on some of that farm fresh goodness. We are going to take another break, but when we come back, a daily recap of what made headlines today. Welcome back, and here's a recap of what made headlines today. First off, no new infections confirmed in Muskoka this week, according to the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit. Now, Canada's top doctor is now suggesting members of the public should be wearing masks, and if they're not able to physically distance, they should be wearing masks all the time. These masks can be the homemade material type. Doug Ford quickly backed up this suggestion, with provincial officials suggesting it's best to have masks while using public transit, shopping in stores, or being in any situation where you're not able to physically distance. As well, the TLDSP has plans to move graduation to the fall, and the Gravenhurst Farmers Market is expected to open soon with limitations, however. And you can keep up to date on all of Cogeco News with Cogeco News Live at 5 and on our website, yourtv.tv. We are taking our last break, but stay tuned for Muskoka on Stage with Briar Summers.
While we may not be able to party it up outside this month, there's still plenty of performances to keep you entertained inside. Get your ears ready for another session of Hunters Bay Radio's Quarantines, this week featuring Denny Gauthier, an artist that Canadian Beats calls a prolific storyteller who entwines heartfelt emotional lyrics with appealing soundscape. Don't miss this fabulous artist live on Thursday night, and find all the details on the Hunters Bay Radio Facebook page. Thursday night is Hawksley Night in Canada. The first episode of Huntsville's very own Hawksley Workman goes live this Thursday at 8 p.m. This Juno award-winning artist is famous for his unique and incredible musicianship, lyrical wizardry, and humorous storytelling. You will not be disappointed. For more details and to purchase your ticket, go to hawksleyworkman.com or visit his Facebook or Instagram page. And get your tickets now for a very special virtual concert from Twin Flames. Twin Flames pushes the boundaries of contemporary folk with Indigenous Inuit-influenced songs that incorporate both Western and traditional instruments. Tickets are on sale now for this online concert through Huntsville Festival of the Arts coming up Sunday, which gets you access to the private Zoom presentation. If you're still not sure about this amazing duo, here's a bit of what you can expect during the virtual show.
You've always been there all the way. You made me who I am today. You believe in me. You believe in me.
That's it for this week, but make sure to tune in again next week for some more great virtual shows.
Well, that is Cogeco News. For more information on the program, you can head over to our website, yourtv.tv, or you can also connect with us on social media by searching YourTV Muskoka. Of course, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you give us a follow, you'll be able to keep up to date with all local news, including COVID-19 updates, but also some of the positive news stories that are coming out and keeping us positively happy. And remember to watch us live at 5 Monday to Thursday. And from everyone here at Cogeco News, thanks for watching. Have a good night, stay home, and stay safe.